You're listening to Hayes Radio Network, Cannabis Lifestyle Radio.
The business of cannabis is brought to you by CashTech Currency Products, North America's leading cash management provider for cannabis retailers. Cash recyclers, smart safes, software and services, CashTech has everything the cannabis retailer needs to track, manage, and secure the cash earned in the dispensary. Don't take chances with your cash. Call CashTech and solve the problem. Visit www. A most hearty business of cannabis welcome to everyone listening today, as always. So very appreciative that you're with us. I'm Dave Sky, and I'll be joined by my co-host Matt Cook at the end of the show for the wrap-up. For new listeners, on the business of cannabis, you can expect to hear the most relevant, groundbreaking, innovative business stories from the cannabis front lines. The latest in cannabis brands, services, innovations in retail, software, distribution, marketing. A hard look at the hard realities of making money in the cannabis industry. Now, today we're focusing on some ancillary services that have grown up around cannabis. These are mature business offerings that have turned their minds, if you will, to the cannabis space. Not necessarily in an organic way, in a very purposeful, measured way. These are players who have come to realize cannabis is becoming a significant sector in the economy and one that's growing rapidly. And I don't mean this in a cynical way, just people are, in a sense, waking up and smelling the cannabis roses, and cannabis needs these people because, at some point the rubber hits the road and you need to sell product efficiently. You need to respond to customers. You need to market your services. You need to sell your services, and you need to manage your staff. These are business issues that need to be addressed, and people are stepping up and providing these solutions. And today we invited two guests on the show that provide solutions in two areas. PR and HR. So a bit of a rhyme there. Lori Rosen has run a tremendously successful PR agency for years out of Manhattan. If she hasn't done it in the PR field, it's probably not worth doing. Lori has created a cannabis division in her agency, and not because she has to. The Rosen Group has lots of work, lots of clients, but she saw an opportunity and also necessity, the cornerstones of entrepreneurship, if you will. And we're going to find out what PR means in the cannabis arena, what certain companies are doing well, and what mistakes people are making. Then we speak to Scott Kenyon, and I apologize for the appalling pun, but Scott works at Wurk, spelled W-U-R-K. Wurk is a workplace management software platform, handles your payroll, HR, scheduling, timekeeping. Very robust system. Scott's an experienced individual who has some key insights into why any business needs to incorporate technology to manage their business processes. No one gets into cannabis business thinking, what's my PR strategy? Or how am I going to manage my payroll? Or what workforce management software should I buy first? But you can go bankrupt because you don't turn your mind to these things. And I think you're going to learn a lot from our guests from that perspective. Well, I learn a lot from all our guests, but that's the benefit of not knowing anything. An opportunity to improve. So let's improve together with Lori Rosen of the Rosen Group and Scott Kenyon of Wurk on the business of cannabis. The business of cannabis is brought to you by CashTech Currency Products, North America's leading cash management provider for cannabis retailers. Cash recyclers, smart safes, software and services. CashTech has everything the cannabis retailer needs to track, manage, and secure the cash earned in the dispensary. Don't take chances with your cash. Call CashTech and solve the problem. Visit www. And welcome to the business of cannabis. we are going to take a little deep dive into the PR world in the cannabis space by speaking with Lori Rosen, who has spent her life in the PR field, a resume far too long to spell out in detail. So let's just take the mountaintop approach and mention she founded the Rosen Group in 1984 in New York City. The president has directed the firm's success for some decades, has worked with Time, Sony, Land Rover, Smithsonian, PC Mag, Atlantic, too many clients, on and on, Reader's Digest. Full service firm, but lately has focused some of its attention in the cannabis sector. And coincidentally, that's what this show's about. So we have a serendipitous moment. So welcome to the show, Lori.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. And I'll go right in because the cannabis industry and our practice has really infused a whole new life into our business. I mean, I've had a successful career and work with a lot of different clients, industry sectors, automotive, as you mentioned, media, industry associations, beer and wine, on and on, and devices, right. I say. But about 10 or I guess 12 years ago, one of my colleagues in New York walked into the office and said, moving to Denver, still want to work for you. And I said, okay. He was a real rainmaker, very smart and talented. Right. And very quickly, Colorado became the first green legal state. And so she became very entrenched, and we worked from the beginning on a lot of different dispensaries, seed to sale, regulators, the Cannabis Business Alliance, all the
wow, okay, but just in Denver, like in Colorado.
All in Denver / Colorado, right. But it just everyone was charting new territory, and so we were there alone for the ride.
Trailblazing.
Yeah.
That must have been interesting because it's probably in your whole career you never got involved in a new industry. All those industries were there when you started working. You just were good at, and then you land in what was that like? Was that somehow a learning experience? Was it different, or was it just, okay, it's another industry, I'm just in it? So
the thing I like in it too is the .com phase or wave in 1998, 1999, before the crash, but when companies would come in and saying, starting a site for pets or everything, actually. I mean, they would come to see us before they even had a business card made up. They'd make up the business card. They had no office, and everyone had offices then.
Just $100 million of investor money in the bank, and now they have to figure out how to spend it.
You're going to double our value.
Right.
And so anyway, that was obviously an exciting moment in time in business, and it was fun to sort of ride that wave. But in the back of your head, you sort of knew that it wasn't sustainable. It had a crash. And so anyway, so the cannabis business, much different, but the same sentiment of Wild West, tons of enthusiasm, attracts a wide range of people from the sort of canna
culture.
Culture who really believe in
I
the
think
plant.
We can agree that cannabis attracts interesting people, a wide-ranging, interesting, welcoming, more open people. It's different that way. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Right. And then there's also the suits, the older men who have a lot of capital and want to benefit from this business.
See an opportunity.
Yeah. But the younger ones, or not necessarily younger, but the ones that are plant-based first and really believe in the benefits, and both medicinal and recreational, their passion is much stronger, and so they're equally succeeding, but they need less money to pour in.
Right. It's a different approach. Yeah. So let's build on that. This is it's not often you talk to someone who was right there at the beginning. What were the unique qualities of this industry from a PR perspective that you have learned over the years? That if I was a running shoe company, I assume you'd say, sure, I'd be happy to help you. Here's the playbook. Is there a separate playbook because
No.
cannabis is cannabis, or is it? No, it's, okay, company's a company.
We're writing the playbook as we are
Still
all
writing
we are. We're
writing the
all
playbook.
developing. But
More editing.
and everyone's learning along the way, from regulation to development to branding. There's nobody knows the answers.
Okay.
I don't think. However, the big differential is that you had to remember that it wasn't legal nationally, still isn't. And so you would hit some of the national media outlets, the Times, the Wall Street Journal, and they'd say, well, what are you, crazy? I can't cover cannabis. It's not legal. I'd say, yeah, but. So then you sort of retooled and focused on the states where it was legal. So initially Colorado, and then there were the cannabis and still are media outlets. So they were like the B2B or trade industry ones, but consumers were reading them too. So they're just shifting. Broadcast was impossible to get on again,
right.
For a gazillion reasons.
Yeah.
Still is, but less so.
Right.
And then also initially the USA Today, AP, all the major outlets opened up bureaus in Denver, even if they were added to them and had cannabis reporters. So that was a way to hit. So you just sort of had to navigate it differently. Okay. And you still do for press events. If you're not an elite, you can't, or for press, particularly with COVID, you can't send samples to media because it's
that's right.
It's illegal. So and I mean,
I had that experience. I was at MJ BizCon and someone said, "Here, and I'm like, what am I supposed to? I can't take this. Like, I can't take this home."
Exactly.
They're going to say something at the border, or it's going to get really awkward because I live in Canada. But I appreciate it.
Yeah,
I accepted it and I gave it to someone else, and so I became a hero. But anyway, go on. Yeah.
No, but so that all of these things, as the industry evolved, and it still is, are workable. So you get influencers to go to a dispensary to get the samples, but there's also the CBD world. When we worked with clients that had both THC products and CBD,
and the medicinal side,
well, that was the CBD part was allowed to be broadcast and featured and covered everywhere. So that was sort of could become the driver for the business, for the brand. So again, there was certain ways to navigate that. And
that must have been a major learning curve because you're so used to approaching things, I'm assuming, on a national level for the most part.
Always.
It's obviously legal, but you can't do that with cannabis so easily. So now you have to learn each state and the nuances and who your audience is and which publications or what outlets would work there. It was
a challenge, but the unifying point is that every single, it's like proof is in the pudding in the sales. Every single legal state, whether it's medicinal or recreational, their sales are record. It's mind-boggling how much.
It's growing.
So it's growing. It's growing figuratively.
On some level, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
We are talking to Lori Rosen, who is principal owner of the Rosen Group, and learning about PR and the challenges of PR, and also what we're hearing, the opportunities in the cannabis space. So let's switch gears. This is, as you were talking, I'm thinking, okay, let's get some specifics to sort of understand a bit more of what does PR mean in this space. Let's assume, I don't know, I'll take, I have 20 locations. I'm in 2 or 3 states. Let's say I'm in rec, I'm in medicinal. What's the PR fundamentals? I come to you and say, I've been very lucky. It sort of organically grew. And now I realize I don't have any PR strategy. I haven't done anything. I've heard about you. What process do you take me through? What fundamentals have to be put in place? And what kind of investment, on different stages?
So first, let's look at the dispensaries. Are they aesthetically different? Is it a cultural thing? Are they modeling Apple stores?
Oh, okay.
If so, we'll hit the design aesthetics of, building designs and retail
Interesting.
designs and,
Right.
try to sort of build that angle. Is it a dispensary known for bud tenders who are super knowledgeable? If so, can the bud tenders host a series of seminars or events? Again, all of this was COVID restricted, but it's gonna come back.
Changing it.
Yeah. So have consumers come in and learn, from
Sure.
the expert. And then there's also what the brands are, what's selling. You could do trend stuff. This one's selling for Valentine's Day, a certain type of, I don't know, bud
Sure.
or
Okay. So
pre-roll.
developing a connection to the consumer based on whatever makes sense to the type of.
Yeah, leveraging the holidays, leveraging the
Right.
seasons. There's in New York a women-owned dispensary, which is I'm on their email list, so I see all their marketing. But that's it's
Oh,
National
I
Women's.
gotcha. Right.
Yeah. So
Oh,
we really,
okay.
look through what are the angles, what sets them apart, and just build that. And then you do go back to the traditional retailers. Do they have loyalty programs for their customers? Then you sort of go back to the other traditional non-cannabis and models and see what works.
And then
Apply
mon-
some of those
yeah.
things.
Is it more expensive because of the restrictions you've
Not
or
really.
not?
Yeah.
It's maybe on some level less expensive because there's what I'm hearing is it's a lot of small PR, if you will. It's
Well,
local markets. It's focusing on these issues. Where if it actually was Apple, it's a different strategy
right.
than
right.
gee, what's your strategy in Colorado and Denver? It's not quite like that.
Right.
It's a different and yes, Apple, I need $10 million. But here it sounds like you can have a lot of positive. You can create real positive momentum for business by focusing on those smaller other elements.
Right. No, you're right. For dispensaries in a certain state or a certain region, there's only a certain amount of, there's a finite
Right.
media base to pitch. However, most dispensaries, everyone is on the growth track. They want to expand. They want to expand within the state, and then they want to take what they learned and go to other markets. So the cannabis media in general is good also for that, for those types of strategic efforts.
So most people are coming to you with a growth, with what
Exactly.
you say, what are your goals? And it's always grow.
Start here and then we're gonna,
Right.
Yeah,
As
sure.
opposed to some industries where I imagine they approach you and say, oh, we want to protect our, we want 2% sales growth and not 2,000, which
Right.
is, well, I mean, if you have $1 billion in sales, 2% is pretty good.
Right.
There's something to that. Okay, what if I forgot to mention my national brand of pre-rolls and edibles. I'm coming to you for that. Is there a different playbook? What's that? What can you do for me there? I don't have bud tenders. It's not a local thing. We're not doing, or maybe I am doing webinars and it's not a design thing. What's that playbook for me? How can you help me?
So we're gonna have to be even more creative and exhibit at shows.
That sounds expensive.
It is.
Yeah.
And we're going to do B2B and we're going to do B2C because we want to create consumer demand.
Okay.
We're going to do what we call activations in today's media world, and that means going to a cannabis restaurant in LA and showing your wares and inviting influencers and media to come.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, so it's sort of
more, I'm saying wow in the sense that there's complexity there because that can take you in so many, whether it's a endorsement from a celebrity or like you said, an influencer in some way, or
the complexity is that's the operative word. It's not just a straight path to media relations.
Yeah. What mistakes do you see companies make over and over again that kind of drive you crazy, and you go like, why doesn't someone just pick up the phone and call me?
Well, here's how I see it. We have a lot of people that are everyone's relatively new into the industry.
You almost have to be, right? Yeah.
Just nobody's worked there before. And so they're not all marketers by trade. The successful marketers are not, they're staying at Apple or Netflix or P&G, they're staying at those large companies. They're not moving.
I've never heard of them, but anyway, continue.
Yeah. So now we're dealing with owners and investors who see a TikTok video and say, wait, we should be doing TikTok. Or they see a podcast and a certain, whatever they see, they feel like they're missing out. So so there's not like a good foundation of knowledge. And so they tend to overspend. And in the end, the result, the ROI isn't as good. So that's what I see in terms of we're like strategic, not slow and steady, because everyone wants everything yesterday, but we sort of know our lane, and we. Yeah.
Do you feel like there's a backlash? Because we interviewed someone in sort of the digital marketing field, websites and all that, and he goes, one of the biggest problems I have is people have been burned, getting overpromised. In other industries, they kind of know what the metrics are but
right.
Have you?
Yeah.
Do you ever get people calling you up going like, "Ugh, I worked with someone and they were horrible"?
Yeah, I mean, and this isn't just in the cannabis industry. This is over the years. So so the bad actors, don't help us. However, as I say, bad clients also, like, don't blame it on the, you have to have trust in your partner, and you have to sort of, be prudent. I mean, that's been our approach for forever. So it usually works. I have had companies come back to us and they say, didn't work the first time. Well, it's good because it's not good, but you learned, and now you'll build on what your foundation.
So doing something is better than doing nothing. And I guess PR is one of those incremental.
Yeah, but you have to do something because it's just way too competitive otherwise.
Okay.
I mean, I'll leave it this one sort of anecdote which just cracked me up, because anybody, knew that calls us and we talk to them about what makes their product different and their unique selling points and their growing process, blah, blah, blah. And that's what we take and build on. And this one CBD company called, they were from Europe, and they said, we're launching in the US. I said, great. What's different about your product? And they said, actually nothing.
Right.
At least you're honest. Right. But now what? Now we have to brand it, and now we have to build but anyway, it's just, it's fun.
Well, I'm assuming no one got into the cannabis space and said, before we even do anything, what's our PR strategy?
Right.
It's always after the fact. And it's like, wait a second, we should probably tell people about what we're doing.
Exactly.
And I'm also assuming, because it's new, people don't always come into it with a lot of knowledge about PR as this mystery. And how do I get my word out?
Yeah.
And tell people, whether on the local or the national level.
After all of these years, it kind of baffles me when, sophisticated business people don't have an ounce of knowledge of what the mechanics, but again, that's what keeps us busy.
Yeah, I guess if they did, yeah. Right. So let me ask you one last thing, because as always, we've almost run out of time.
Okay.
So you've been a pioneer, you've been there beginning, but it still feels like this industry is, maybe it's not a teenager anymore, but it's a young adult, maybe going its first year university, and, a lot of years to go before they're mature adults. Where do you see your cannabis practice in 2 or 3 years or 5 years? What do you think? You'll be doing sort of the same thing, or do you feel it will have evolved on some other level?
It will evolve more in social media, because again, once it becomes legal, federally, then the whole game will change, the whole trajectory.
Okay, I get you.
Yeah. We've been, stifled limited to a certain extent because of, again, federal versus not. And so once that happens, it's going to.
Then it's that whole new playbook.
Yeah.
Throughout the old playbook, it's a new playbook. So until
Right.
then, this is.
But we'll still do the traditional media relations.
Right, back to square one. Well, we have been chatting with Lori Rosen, principal of the Rosen Group, talking about what you need to do in the cannabis space so people will actually know what you're doing. And I will mention the website is Rosen Group PR. So there's 2 P's there, grouppr.com, rosengrouppr.com. Encourage you to give Lori a call and say, please help me with my PR because I need it because I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe I'll get a professional. Maybe.
Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. And we will be back with more of the business of. The business of cannabis is brought to you by CashTech Currency Products, North America's leading cash management provider for cannabis retailers. Cash recyclers, smart safes, software and services. CashTech has everything the cannabis retailer needs to track, manage, and secure the cash earned in the dispensary. Don't take chances with your cash. Call CashTech and solve the problem. Visit www. And welcome back to the business of cannabis. We are excited to bring our next guest. I have a lot of questions because it's an interesting offering. I have the pleasure of talking to Scott Kenyon, who has been with Wurk, spelt W-U-R-K, since 2018, recently appointed a chief executive officer. Wurk offers software and services to help cannabis companies manage payroll, HR, scheduling, timekeeping, and a bunch more. He has a long and successful career with both entrepreneurial early stage companies like Funware and Plato Studios, as well as large corporate players like Dell. Companies like Canopy Growth, Cresco Labs, Harborside, they all use Wurk. So let's find out why. Scott, welcome to the show.
Hey, David, thank you for having me today.
Yeah, no, I'm really interested. I've always been fascinated by sort of this rise in, cannabis. There's cannabis industry, and we think growing and selling, but then there's a whole service side, and in some ways is growing even faster than the cannabis side itself. So Wurk obviously does a lot of things. Give us an overview of what it is and how all these various elements kind of work together.
You got it. You mentioned that all these companies, we call them ancillary companies to the regular typical cannabis company, but ancillary companies that don't really touch the flower. I'll tell you what, you're right there. We're all growing tremendously, but our job is to bring solutions to the cannabis industry and support them as if they were not any, but like just a normal company, a non-cannabis company.
Okay.
So I'm glad to be grouped with that group of folks, because there's a lot of sharp people doing some amazing things in the ancillary part of the cannabis business. But Wurk specifically, we are a payroll and HCM company for cannabis and cannabis only. So payroll, or typical payroll, is paying your employees on whatever cycle that is, as well as paying all the employee taxes and taxes to the state, local governments, etc. So we take care of that. So our customers can focus in on what they love, which is, wherever they're at, their cultivation customer, a dispensary customer, somebody that's fully integrated, they're all able we're able to pay their payrolls and all of their payroll taxes. HCM is human capital management. So think of that as everything you need to do to manage and develop and lead your people organization. So that's everything from scheduling to performance management to timekeeping, LMS, learning management systems. So we have a whole gamut of solutions that customers can come in, choose what they want on our platform, and off to the running to help develop their organization.
Wow, that's a lot there.
Yeah.
Drill down a little bit, performance management, timekeeping, learning management. Give me some examples of what is that, like payroll. I get you
Yeah.
manage all that and people get paid on time,
Yeah.
and the taxes that need to be get paid, and there are the complexities there. But the HCM elements, drill down just a little bit. Give me some examples.
Yeah. So learning management system, it could be as simple as watch this video of how do you fill out your W-2 form as a new
Oh,
employee,
right.
or it could be a series or test or booklet on compliance, right? Some states require certain compliance, or you as a company want to have a sexual harassment certification. They can go through that LMS. So we have off-the-shelf type certifications we offer, but then our customers can load in their own content for whatever needs they have. So, and it's really LMS is just whoever thought of a great acronym around it, but it's really just a learning center.
Good. Okay.
Performance management. So, you know, companies are all over the place anymore on performance management, but back in the old days, it was like, hey, once a year you'd go and talk to your manager about, hey, I want a pay raise, and let's talk about my performance over the last year. So this process, our platform allows the employee to go in there and do a self-assessment, a manager do an assessment, and then the next level manager, if needed, and really drive down it against a performance plan. So you start your new fiscal year, you say, hey, corporate level, here's the 3 goals, but you as the tax specialist, your goals are A, B, and C. So you can really feel you know what you're being measured to, and at the end of the year you can see how you perform against those goals.
Sorry, Dave, you're not getting your raise. That's what I think. That automated message for me. Again, I gotcha. So let's flip that. What's the value prop? Like if I'm hearing this, like, okay, that sounds interesting. What kind of company should I be to be turning to something like this? Is there an ideal client? Are there different values for a huge company? What's the value for a mid or smaller company? Take me through that.
So we have the largest cannabis companies on our platform. One of the top 3 cannabis companies is on the platform. And we also have mom and pops with as little as 3 employees.
Really?
So, but what I would say, so it's good for everybody, but a mom and pop probably doesn't need everything we can go offer. And so we have smaller packages for them. But what happens as they quickly grow, they're like, wow, I can't keep up with this, and I need a system to help me with that. And the difference between a cannabis company and a non-cannabis company, the cannabis companies have so many compliance and regulations they have to follow just to maintain their license. If they lose their license, they lose their business. So the last thing they want to be worried about, they're trying to keep everything else in line, is to be worried about government taxes, employee pay taxes, or payroll taxes. So we've built that system to take that worry off of them or make it much easier for them.
No, okay, gotcha. And then I guess for the huge company, the large companies, well, you're overwhelmed. It's a no-brainer. You have to have this system, whether it's Wurk or something else. You have to have it.
Yeah, and as any software you buy out outside of cannabis, you may really want the top of the line, the fastest, blah blah blah. We're a very good platform, but if we aren't the best in one of those areas, we'll help integrate. So maybe a Cresco, as you mentioned earlier, may need a better learning management system, and they have one that they go out there and they license from whomever, and then we bring in that integration. So I'm not here to force every customer on every part of my platform. I want to make their life easier, and if that means bringing in David's unbelievable software program, let's bring in David's program and let's make it better for the community.
And it is unbelievable, believe me. You're going to want it.
This community has been successful up to this point because for a very large part, everybody does it for the larger community as a whole, and Wurk is no different. The more this community rises, the more Wurk is going to rise.
Right. As it develops and changes, and and not to pump your tires, but I imagine, well, I know that this industry changes a lot, particularly compliance. And if you try to do it yourself and develop your own processes, that's going to be a full-time job, and you're not out there selling. Not
Just
to
think
mention
something-
taxes change, payroll changes.
Think
Go ahead. No, sorry.
Sorry. Think of one, and I'm not sure if they have this in Canada, but in the US, every office you have, and now remote, there's certain state laws you have to have posted. And there's posters everybody has, usually in a break room or a kitchen.
Right.
And certain employment laws.
Right, of course.
Well, now you have to do that for every remote employee. So if you have a remote employee in Montana, you've got to do that for them. Well, we came up with a service that automates that for our customers. So once they sign up, we go in there off of every zip code, and we have the poster online now for like somebody like me who works from home. You go in there, you acknowledge it, you save it to your computer, you're compliant for that state. So it's little things like that we just take off of them, instead of them having to make a trip down to Walmart or Office Depot and buy that poster. And then a lot of times those rules change every 6 months. So you have to go buy another poster. That's just a small example of little solutions we bring to make our customers' lives easier.
I'm talking to Scott Kenyon from Wurk, which is a rather robust software system managing HR, payroll, human capital management. A new phrase I've learned. Is there sort of the core of what would be the core of your product? Where do people tend to start with it? Or what would you recommend? Again, take me through the small, medium, large.
Yeah, the core of everything is payroll, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Pay their employees, but past that, I would say it's onboarding, right? How do you onboard an employee? And what happens is the HR leaders at our customers will onboard a new hire, and then that goes to every other system they have. They can pull from our system, so it automatically populates, where before that, they would have to go in and do that for David, and then they'd go over here to another program and do it again for David. So we've sped up that process and allows our platform to talk to all of their other software products that they have.
So if I understood in English, like, okay, David's hired. By the way, congratulations, good hire. And now, not only am I going to get paid, but I can access the Learning Center. I'm getting all the aspects, all the information I need, all my addresses. I'm accessing that stuff, and it's not, all siloed.
Correct.
That's cool. Yeah.
I need you on my marketing team.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Well, the onboard. You got an onboarding process. Why not?
Yeah.
Take me through. Give us an example of all your clients where you changed how they approached their work, made their lives better. Is that an unfair question?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I'm trying to think of, for a small business. So for small business, for us, it's under 50 employees. And
well, that's interesting too, because that's not small, really.
No. Well, in software, yeah, every software vertical has a different definition for small, mid, enterprise, right? So that's just how we do it at Wurk. And so, but you're right. If I had a company with 50 employees, I wouldn't think it's small. My company currently has 80 employees. I don't think it's small. Now you say it that way. I need to think about that.
Okay,
But so
maybe Coke has more, exactly, and exactly. Yeah. So give me, let's put some flesh on the bones of this theoretical platform.
Yeah. So the for a small business, I talked to a dispensary owner in Pueblo, Colorado, that was really just struggling keeping up with the taxes. They said, hey, we keep getting dinged on taxes, and there's a $500 fine here, $200 in interest here, blah blah, all these things. And they only had, I believe they had 8 employees at the time, and they were able to load those in our system, and the system automated which taxes need to be paid, pinged them and reminded them, and would keep reminding them until they clicked it off, saying we don't need to pay their taxes. And this woman shared with me, she said, Scott, this is just, I can sleep better. She goes, I think I'm getting an extra hour of sleep every night because I don't have to worry about that.
That's so nice. That's a great story. Yeah, when someone actually says, thank you for doing this on an emotional level.
Yeah.
Rather than just, okay, tick.
It was real. And so it's my
That's
next
cool.
example, but it wasn't an emotional response like you just said. So one of our larger clients said, we need a learning management system. And we said, okay, we've got this,
Yeah.
but what are you really trying to go do? And she told us that we're looking at this learning management system. Here's what we're paying, blah, blah. And we said, well, we can add that onto your system for, I think it was like a third of the cost of what they were going to go pay. Now, it didn't have all the bells and whistles that they wanted over there, but it had enough of what they needed. And she was like, you made me a hero. I just went back to the CFO and said, hey, I found an equivalent product for 70% less. Right. So that was an example of an enterprise customer that just in a regular one-on-one, me checking in with her, she said, yeah, we're actually about to go sign for this new fancy LMS system. I said, well, shame on us. We've got something like that. So that's an example at an enterprise level.
So what's not that you're, without giving away too many secrets, where do you see this developing? Because it could develop in like software. You could keep adding functionality, or is it more about getting deeper into what you already have?
It's both. That's a great question, by the way. It is both. We do need to get deeper. Our customers have historically gradually made us get deeper into these certain areas, but really the last 2 years, they're asking for more advanced solutions as well. So an example of that is our LMS system. We didn't have a very robust LMS system because in the beginning, not many people were focused on it. They were just trying to keep their doors open, stay compliant, blah, blah, blah. But now we have real companies that have been around for a while, and they want to develop their teams. And so, developing new solutions for our customers is key. And going into the future, I know and I have a team of product experts that know what every company similar size in different industries needs and uses. And so we know where the product gaps are. And now we have enough people coming in from outside of cannabis. They're like, hey, where's my blah, blah, blah. Prime example, advanced scheduler. A scheduler that gets really deep into half-hour scheduling or 15-minute scheduling, part-time employees, interns, like all kinds of things that they didn't need 2 years ago. So those are the products. And those companies, my COO, who started last year, came from 20 plus years in the payroll business. And she came in and she says, hey, do you have this solution? And I was like, no. And she asked me, and after like the 5th time she asked me something, I said, stop asking.
Yeah.
Start doing that stuff here. And,
my head's starting to hurt. Yeah.
Yeah. And she was just at the International Independent Payroll Providers of America's convention last week. And she said she was like the cute new girl at school. And she's been there for 20 years. And everybody wanted to know about her experience in cannabis. And we want to jump in there and help support cannabis companies, but we're scared. And are we going to lose our license? And she said it was a calming effect, but it made me realize I made the right decision to jump into cannabis.
Do you find your business has been spurred on by internal discussion? Here's what we need, or has the business itself, as it continues to evolve and expand, has driven you to do this stuff?
I think it's both. I think in the first couple of years, it was the first part of your response. The second is now we're like just the bulb in the ground right now, waiting for springtime to bloom. Right. There's something, we have different ideas now. All those can't bloom at the same time. But now we're picking which order goes into it. I just talked to my chief of strategy, and she was telling me these are the projects we need to take off the plate for this year. And I was like, we're only 60 days, 70 days into the year.
Exactly. Wait a second.
Yeah. So it is.
Get to the learning center. Learn something. Work more.
There's never a lack of ideas, but we have to prioritize it. And we use our customer base to gauge what they need. And I'll tell you, the biggest thing right now is our customers want to use their data in more and more ways, which is great because they're going to make better decisions.
That's cool. Do you see, a final question, as the industry expands, is it going to be, how is that going to affect your business over the next 5 years? And that the corollary to that is, where do you see this in 5 years? Who is Wurk in 5 years? If I called you up in 5 years, would we be having the same conversation? or is it going to be, wow, Dave, this is what we're doing? What's your sort of crystal ball of that?
In 5 years, the things we're going to be talking about are going to be way sexier and cooler than what we're talking about now, right?
That's because you and me are going to be way sexier and cooler.
Yeah.
That's more that.
My teenage daughter.
What do you? Yeah.
My teenage daughter says I'm anything but cool and sexy. So.
Oh well, yeah. She doesn't get you. I'm getting you. So is it like because the industry is going to have evolved, and the velocity, at the sheer size of the industry, or is it more the complexity?
I don't think the size is going to change much about our business. What's going to change a ton about how our clients run their business, including you and I, is what employees are going to be demanding.
Gotcha.
Post-COVID,
Right?
flexible schedules, flexible locations, long-term time off. I mean, things like that that'll really complicate.
Sure, they do. Totally do. Yeah.
It helps retain your employees, which is I'll retain my employees for 4,000, Alex, before I take
right.
complicated.
I'll keep on onboarding. Well, we have been talking to Scott Kenyon at Wurk, and learning about, and I am certainly learning about the complexities of just dealing with your people, dealing with your and payroll, and how that's going to continue to evolve. And if you aren't using Wurk, you have to use something like it. It sounds like, or at some point that problem's going to overwhelm you, or you'd say teeny, which there's something to that maybe. But if you're not going to do that, it sounds like you need to get your head into this. Which it's a funny thing about business. No one got into cannabis because of I wonder what payroll system I need.
Yeah.
But pretty soon, the payroll systems may be more important than the cannabis. Yeah. Or it's going to sink you. Thank you very much. This is very I forgot to mention, you need to go to enjoywurk.com, and that's WURK, enjoywurk.com, and find out all about what Wurk has to offer and learn. Lots of good stuff there. I checked it out myself. Scott, thank you so much. This was great. This was really, and we're going to hold you to your word, but I'm not going to wait 5 years. I'm going to wait some months, and we're going to check back in on you and see how things are developing.
Thank you, David. Cheers.
Yeah, you're welcome. Sounds like a great offering. And we will be back with sort of wrapping up the show on the business. The business of cannabis is brought to you by CashTech Currency Products, North America's leading cash management provider for cannabis retailers. Cash recyclers, smart safes, software and services, CashTech has everything the cannabis retailer needs to track, manage, and secure the cash earned in the dispensary. Don't take chances with your cash. Call CashTech and solve the problem. Visit www. Three, two, one. So welcome back. This is Cannabis with Dave Sky and Matt Cook. And we have had the pleasure of talking to Lori Rosen of the Rosen Group, and Scott Kenyon of Wurk, WURK. So maybe some different areas. Obviously, we got earned media and publicity and all that, and sort of payroll and time management and workforce management. But as I was listening to them speak, I thought that's why I thought it would be a good show to put them together. Is really they're dealing with business problems that have nothing to do with cannabis.
No,
they just are in helping cannabis. But it's just you need PR, you need to deal with your workforce and your people and payroll and scheduling, and whether you're selling shoes or you're in manufacturing, it doesn't matter. Aeronautics, cannabis, you got to deal with this stuff.
Right.
I mean, I know you have a lot of experience in PR and marketing.
And,
You heard.
I mean, it's one of of these things that people know they have to do it, and they put it off because it's not core to what they do. If you're running a dispensary, you have a million other things you have to worry about. PR is probably pretty low on the list. But I remember the first time I used a PR agency for one of my companies, and we were, maybe $1 million, $1.5 million in revenue, and a good PR person can make a massive difference. All of a sudden, you're on TV and in newspapers and magazines, and it also can help your web presence by having links to articles that link back to your site, and just it creates a huge awareness, and tied that in with a well designed and executed marketing plan, and then you don't have to worry about it. But if it's not core to what you do, it's very difficult, A, to know how to do it, and B, to actually allocate the time within your day to strategize, and then who's going to execute it, right?
Yeah, no, it's easy to spend money.
Yep.
So that's I know with other business, it's very hard to convince people to spend on something that isn't tangible, because you can't see it. You can't see its effects.
Right.
It could be a year from now. It could be never. It could require relentlessness. Like, it's not the first article, it's the 10th. Are you ready? Are you going to spend that much money? You may or you may not. It almost always pays off.
Well,
but you can waste a lot of money too in these areas.
Well, because I think it's kind of like let's say you're playing blackjack, and you sit down at the table with $50.
Hit me. Oh, 50. Okay.
No, it's a $25.
So you want to play for 3 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, you play two hands, and you're like, oh, this game sucks. Whereas if you sat down at the table with 2,000 and you're betting $25 a hand, you can ride out kind of those ups and downs. And well, hold on. If you play like me, you just play for a little longer. You go, this game sucks, but yes. Continue. No difference, just longer. But with PR and marketing, it's a longer term investment, and you have to. And once you start seeing those results, and sometimes they can take months or more than a year. But once you start seeing them, they're consistent, and you'll see the huge impact on your business. Yeah, and I guess it's like infrastructure. You don't notice a road until there's potholes. Right. You don't notice inefficiencies in payroll or paying 280E or whatever it is you're doing, until you spent 4 hours a day dealing with this stuff and making mistakes, and employees complaining, and chasing after a check or whatever e-transfer that did or didn't go through. Right. And then you offload it, and then you go, what was I thinking? But it takes a bit of, what's the word? A commitment. I mean, it's different when you're a huge player and you have this knowledge base and the money, but when it's your money, it's hard. Even if you're a reasonable sized business, to make the commitment to put in the infrastructure to be efficient. But even, I know with one of my businesses, we were, not a big company by any means, but payroll was manageable. And it just became this, albatross around my neck, because it's just another thing, in your day, and you have to worry about, did this person get paid correctly? And it's just like, what? As soon as we outsourced it, exactly to your point, it was just like a weight off my back. They worry about issuing all the remittances and W-2s or, T4s or whatever it might be. And it just makes your life a lot easier. Especially, and also like time tracking and things like that. It's more about what is core to my business. And this was always my philosophy after, the first couple of times I stumbled in business. Focus on what you're good at and what your core business is, and outsource everything else. So yeah, that's hard to do. And maybe if you're an accountant or something, you'll take on certain things, or you're a lawyer, you'll take on certain things. You want to outsource that. Yeah. But there's no rule. But like I have a finance degree. But I didn't want to spend hours working on my corporate taxes.
Yeah.
Like, what is the point?
You just ignored it.
Yeah, exactly.
And hope it went away. Yeah, no, I was impressed with Scott's offering, and whether it's work, and like I said, whether it's work or not, doesn't matter, as long as you have handled these things, and you probably shouldn't do it yourself. The same with PR, almost certainly, unless you spent years in it, you can't do it, but you got to do it, and it'll definitely pay off. But yeah, it could be expensive because it's things that are like, that's why they called it earned media. Anything earned is expensive. If it's free media, yeah, okay, but you're getting what you pay for.
It depends on what your business is too. Like if you're a local dispensary,
of course,
spending tens of thousands of dollars on PR doesn't make a lot of sense. But if you're like a multi-state operator, or you're a big producer or equipment manufacturer in the industry, it can go a long way.
Well, we will have to pick this up another time, because I have lots to say about that. Because sometimes the local, it could really pay off, because then you become the big fish in a small pond.
You don't necessarily have to spend tens of
but
thousands.
you can do other things. You're right, sweat equity stuff rather than that.
Yeah, 100%.
But we have to jump off and say goodbye, because we've reached that time. Thank you, Matt. Thank you to our listeners, as always, of course.
Thank you.
Thank you to Cash Tech Currency Products, our sponsor. Go to www.cashtechcurrency.com to check out their cash management system. I'm Dave Sky on behalf of Matt Cook, and this has been The Business of Cannabis.